So it turns out that I don't share nearly enough of my photography journey on this YouTube channel, and that's because it's generally really difficult to film each and every time I go out and take photos. When you're trying to make videos all the time, your attention is divided between trying to make a good video that makes sense and also take good photos. So what I thought I'd do in order to share a little bit more of the behind the scenes or the thought process that goes into my photos is actually take a handful of my favorite photos for the month, talk about why I like them, breaking down the composition, the colors, the lighting, all those kinds of things, and then just sort of reflect on possibly how I could have made them better. Okay, so first off, we've got an image of this pool edge here with the ladder extending into the water. And I just really like the framing of this and how that loop shape is almost central to the frame. And then with that white line going through it, I don't know, it just creates a cool shape for me. I did have to crop it a little bit. As you can see in the top right corner, there is a little bench where some people were hanging out. So there were some things that I needed to Photoshop out in the background to make it a little bit neater. I love the color blocking in this photo. So you've got those very nice bluey green tones on the left hand side down the bottom, and then very like gray neutral in the top right hand with that sort of white line and dividing them. And I think that really helps to draw attention to the photo. And then we've got that no diving text up in the top corner, and I just really think that helps to add to the story of the photo. It makes it super obvious what this is a photo of. I also really like how the reflection helps to almost complete that kind of circular pattern of the ladder itself. Now I actually went to this location twice, and this was the first time I went to the location and it was quite cloudy. I did want to get some sun, and that's why I went back, but I think that this photo worked out really well in the cloudy conditions. It's a very flat image overall, there are no shadows, and I actually think it worked for this photo. And I could have gotten rid of the bench in the top right hand corner, but I don't know, I think it sort of frames the photo, so I decided to leave it in. All right, so next up we have a photo I think that may have been taken on the same day, but I'm not too sure. I can't really remember as it was right at the beginning of the month. I was just wandering around and I found this ocean pool. This is actually in Newcastle, and the sun was kind of setting over to the right hand side of the frame, sort of over the water. And there was this girl who was going for a swim, and I noticed that there was a massive wave coming, and what usually happens with these ocean pools is when the wave hits the side, it like sprays up, and I wasn't expecting it to be that dramatic, but there was a lot of water that shot up and it landed all over in the pool. And I don't know, it just created this really nice little frame around her. She's very silhouetted in the photo. I kind of exposed for the highlights knowing that she would be silhouetted and I wouldn't be trying to bring back any detail just because it's not relevant. But overall, I just really like the vibe of this photo. I like that the subject, the girl in the frame, is centered, and also the horizon line is on the top third while she's on the bottom third. So there's kind of this order to the photo, which I really like. Okay, so next up we have a photo of Michaela, and this was a shoot that I tagged along to with my friend Gerard, and I wasn't actually expecting to take any photos. I was just filming some behind the scenes of him, but Gerard said, hey, jump in, take a few photos, so of course I did. And I sort of had this idea in my mind to shoot somebody drinking a water bottle with like the light coming through and illuminating, but I knew I didn't want it to be just a plain clear water bottle, so I actually went to a kiosk that was nearby the beach that we were shooting at, and I bought this bottle of San Pellegrino, which is just a sparkling water, and then I took the label off. So it did take me a little while to set this shot up, but I think it was totally worth it because I really like the pop of color that that green bottle gives, especially it being illuminated from behind with the sun. We also played around with the pose a little bit. She had the bottle in her right hand to start with, and I thought her arm was sort of getting in the way of the camera, the idea of the shot, so I got her to switch hands with the bottle, and I think that worked out really well. And then I just had her place her hand behind. I'm not completely in love with the pose here. I think it could be slightly better. However, I'm not really sure how I could have made it better, maybe just experimenting a little bit more. I do wish that the sun was coming from behind Michaela a little bit more. It would create more of a silhouette. I think that the side of her body in the shadow is just a little bit too bright, and I couldn't get it to quite work well in the editing process. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid photo. Okay, so next up, this is a photo that I took pretty much 5 minutes before the photo that I just showed, and it's a very candid image of a beach called Camp Cove in Sydney. On the left-hand side of the frame, you can see the silhouette of the city, which I think is really cool. And then you've got this boathouse slash boardwalk kind of situation. And then on the right-hand side, we have a couple who are just going for a swim underneath that boardwalk. And I just really like the vibe of this photo. I love that it's backlit. I love how balanced the composition is. You've got the boathouse in the center of the frame, the city on the left, and the couple on the right. And I like how the woman in the photo is sort of looking down towards the water. It kind of helps to tell a little bit of a story in the image that, you know, she's looking down, maybe she's going to dive in and she's just checking that there's nothing dangerous or that it's not too shallow down there. So I just think it's a very simple photo, but there is quite a lot to look at, which is really nice. Next up, this is a photo taken at an ocean pool near Manly in Sydney. And the sun was pretty much setting at this point, so the shadows in the photo were super long and exaggerated, and I tried to frame the stairs in the middle of the frame, but then you've got these handrails kind of going from side to side. I love that the frame is kind of split into two as well, with the white edge of the pool and then the green of the actual water in the pool. Very simple shot, very simple idea, but I think the lighting really did most of the work in this photo. On this day, I was taking a ferry through Sydney, so I got a couple of images that I really liked, and I knew that we were going to be crossing in front of the city skyline, and at that point, you can see the bridge as well as the Sydney Opera House way off in the distance, and then obviously the buildings. And I spotted this safety ring floaty, I don't know what you call these things, on the side of the boat. And I just thought that the color really popped against the yellow and the red and the green of the ferry as well as the background. So I decided to frame it in the center on the bottom third line, and then have the city skyline on the top third line. And I had to be pretty quick with my framing because this ferry moves quite fast, and so I didn't want to lose that skyline in the background. But I managed to capture this image, and I really like it because it's just a unique shot of Sydney's skyline. Sydney is a really famous city, not just in Australia, but all over the world. And capturing it in this way that I think is slightly different to a lot of the photos that you do see online, I think is what makes this photo kind of special to me, and a photo that's actually kind of grown on me since I took it. I think I definitely could have done a way better job at exposing this image because the original was really, really underexposed. But as I said, I didn't have much time to set up my camera in order to snap the shot because we were about to go past an island which would have obscured the view, and I don't think this photo would have been quite as good. Okay, so last up we have a photo of one of the most famous landmarks in Australia. So this is the 12 Apostles. My plan was to get there just as the sun was setting, take some photos, and then wait until blue hour to snap a photo like this. But the drive took way longer than I expected. I got stuck behind some really slow camper vans, but I ended up making it here, and I took this photo, which I'm really happy with. What you can't see in this photo is the probably 200 tourists that were there watching the sunset that day. But well after the sun went down, I managed to take this photo with no people in it. I saw this fence that was getting illuminated by the sun, and it kind of created this frame around the sandstone pillars. And the reason that I really do like it is because it's just different to every other photo taken here. This is shot on the X-T5 and it was extremely low light. I think my ISO was probably around 2000 or 2500, just so that I could get a high enough shutter speed to actually capture the image without there being any blur. But I think overall, after editing the photo, it held up pretty well. I do add a lot of grain to my photos anyway, so you probably can't really tell that the ISO was super high. I think a lot of the elements in the frame are bunched into the center, and you've got a lot of sort of blank space on the bottom with that dark area of the pavement, and then obviously the sky at the top. So I don't completely love it. This photo might work a little bit better as a landscape photo. I did take a landscape variation, but this was just a photo that I picked out for this video. So maybe I need to go back and edit the landscape version. Could be slightly better. Another thing I don't love as much about this photo is how bright that rock is on the right hand side of the photo. It's kind of drawing your attention away because your eyes tend to get drawn to really bright and saturated sections in the image. I think maybe I could have done this in editing as well, but maybe those pillars in the center, I could have made them a little bit more bright and colorful, and that would have drawn your attention in as well. So I don't think it's a super strong photo, but I just really like it because it is so different to every other photo that I've seen taken here. So let me know what you guys thought of that. Did you enjoy hearing a little bit more of the story behind each and every photo? Might make it a more regular thing. Maybe not every month, but maybe every 6 months, just going through my absolute favorite photos and explaining why I think they're good. Then also reflecting and considering how I could have done it differently. As per usual, all the images in this video were edited with my Helio preset pack, which you can find linked down in the description below. And these presets are pretty much how I can create a consistent but aesthetic kind of look overall to my work. I'm actually heading to the States tomorrow and I'm really excited about this trip. I'm going to be making a ton of videos for you guys. So I've actually got to start packing my bags now, but I want to thank you guys once again for joining me for another video, and I'll see you all in the next one.